Okay, so once again, my name's Laurel Wyckoff. I work for New Mexico PBS. And for those of you who don't know, New Mexico PBS has a broadcast license owned by two entities, and they are UNM and APS. So all of you guys on this call, you're my boss. So I am here to support you, just so you know. So this is the front page I'm showing you right now of PBS Learning Media. PBS Learning Media has thousands of resources, not just from PBS stations across the country, but also from NASA, from NOAA, from the Library of Congress, from the National Archives, the Smithsonian, and many, many more places. This is a great asset for you guys. It's always free and it's open 24/7 for you. So I'm going to start at the top of the page. In the upper right corner, you see my name. This is because I signed up for my own free account. And I really recommend that you guys do the same. Even though you can use PBS Learning Media without signing in for an account, there's a couple things you cannot do unless you have a free account. And if you do sign up for a free account with your local zip code and your school, you will be able to access New Mexico state standards. You will be able to search and favorite different items, and then you'll also be able to design lesson plans within PBS Learning Media, and you'll be able to organize your favorite items into folders, which I have done for you for today. So I'm going to send everybody, and also this is at the APS resources page, a folder that I put together just for you on using current events in the classroom. So here we are again on the front page. Right up in the left corner is the logo, PBS Learning Media. Wherever you are, whatever resource you're looking at, if you want to get back to this front page, just click on this logo and you will be there. Right to the right of that logo is our New Mexico PBS logo. If you click on that, if I have some interesting things going on, I'll have an announcement over here on the left side. Of course, if you want to donate, you can do that from here. And also, if you want to watch The Majesty of Music and Math, a documentary we made a couple of years ago with the Santa Fe Symphony and a mathematician from the Santa Fe Institute, this is a very cool documentary. And we also have resources to go with it that you can use in your classroom for middle and high school and elementary school. So it's a very cool resource. That's if you click on our logo, you'll see a blue strip here at the top. You can search through PBS Learning Media by subject. Those of you who are in social studies, these are all the things you can click on in social studies. ELA teachers, here's all of the resources you can click on. ELA writing, reading foundational skills, literature. Under English language arts. This is only one of many ways to search. Another way to search is by keyword right here. You can search by grade level. This will give you too much. In fact, 10,880 videos. So you could narrow it down by subject area. It's only 1,600 videos now, but maybe you're not looking for a video. Maybe you want to look for an interactive lesson, a lesson plan, a media gallery, some images, documents, or collections. My favorite thing, by the way, is collections. So let's say collections. It's still too many to look at, but it's narrowed down to 270 instead of 10,000. You can sort this also by relevance, popularity, or what's the newest thing in PBS Learning Media. How do we know what's popular? I'll tell you. Different teachers have favorited different things. One of the most popular here is Ken Burns in the classroom. Also, resources for new school routines is very popular. If I wanted to put Ken Burns in the classroom into my favorites, I would click on it. And let's say, see this little heart here? This could be anywhere, by the way. It could be in the lower left or the upper right. Save this collection for later. If I click on this heart, see, it becomes one of my favorites. You can also share it in your Google Classroom from here, or you can share it with your friends and colleagues in any of these ways. This is how we know what's the most popular right now, because people are actually favoriting this. Going back, remember I said if you click on the logo, PBS Learning Media, you'll get right to the front page again, and there I am. You can search by keyword here. You'll have to narrow things down. Let's say you want to look at some literature. You're an English language teacher. This is a lot, 956 resources, but there's ways to drill down from here. Let's say your grade level is 6 to 8. You can narrow it down. Now there's only 441. Every time you see a plus, that means there's more. So see these pluses over here? Let's say I'm an English language arts teacher, so I want to see what's under this plus. There's more pluses: literature, informational text, reading, foundational skills, speaking and listening. So let's say under literature, I click on the plus, there's still more key ideas: craft and structure, integration of knowledge and ideas, but there's more pluses. Every time there's a plus, you can drill down more. Finally, I'm at the bottom of this little plus area, and you could do diverse formats and media, themes and topics across texts. So this is another way for you to search. You can also search by collection, or maybe you only want videos. Media galleries are collections of different kinds of media about a single story. Let's say you're looking for things, even though you're English language arts, you're looking for some things in Spanish. You can click right here on the Spanish language and see what comes up. Anytime there's a little orange, yellow, whatever this color is, thing that says Espanol, yes, it means what's available here is either in English and Spanish. If it says also in Espanol, it means English and Spanish. If it just says ES, it is in Spanish or it's bilingual. So let's say Mark Twain, we want to do Mark Twain, but we want to have the option of seeing him in Spanish. See this box here where it says English? If I click here, I can see it in Spanish. And so if I want this video to be available in Spanish, let me optimize. Let's see what the Spanish video about Mark Twain looks like.
¿Qué significa tener una voz única? ¿Cómo tu personalidad se ve representada en lo que dices o escribes? Cuando los Estados
And of course, that's also available in English. So if I go back here and click English, we can continue this video in English.
What does it mean to have a unique voice? How does your personality show in what you say or write? While America was still young, still growing, and still finding its own identity, Mark Twain was one of its foremost storytellers.
Okay, that's how you find items in English and in Spanish, and how you switch if they're in two languages from English to Spanish. So now you know how to search from that area. What is all this in the middle? I'm still back on the front page. Remember, if you click on PBS Learning Media logo, you get back to the front page wherever you are. Every week, this section changed. Teresa, did you have a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
I just wanted to know, can you play it in English, but with Spanish subtitles?
That's asking a lot. I don't think that that's, at least not in that resource, that's an option. Usually it's either in Spanish or it's in English. There should be subtitles on pretty much everything, captions, that is. And so if it's in English, you may be able to see captions in Spanish at the same time and vice versa. You might have to check on the little icon, the CC. But that's a good question. No one has ever asked me that before. Okay. Thank you for asking that, Teresa. Real quickly, anybody else have any other questions before I carry on? Okay. Are there any questions in the chat? Okay, guys, just so you know, current events is an option in the attendance. Okay, now I'm back on the very front page of PBS Learning Media. Remember, this is what it looks like when you get there. And the next row down there, this changes every week. There is one resource featured from each subject area. So in social studies, when is it right to rename your school? That's a good question. I never thought of that. It's Native American Heritage Month. So here is a documentary video, 12 minutes long. You can see the length here for grades 6 through 8 and 9 through 12 from American Masters about Queen Liliuokalani. This is from a documentary that is very cool about women's history, Unladylike 2020. Nova, the effects of cannabis on the teenage brain. Just in case you wanted to know that. Here's a preschool native village field trip. Attention to scaling. This is Cyber Chase Mathematics for grades 3 to 5. A little something in the arts, a little something in professional development. Engineering and technology for Native American Heritage Month. Phys ed and world languages today, something in Japanese. I don't know how much we have in Japanese, but we do have a whole world language section. So you can click on any of these and go right there to that resource and then search from there. So click here. This is one of my favorite guys, Miles Bess is his name. I am going to unoptimize, so because I think things look fuzzy if I optimize for video, and I'm not showing you a video. Okay, and so Miles Bess is going to talk in this video. He's from San Francisco, Above the Noise is the name of his series, and he's going to talk about when is it right to rename your school. And this looks like a pile of something that he's looking at. So it might be a pile of something if you try to rename your school. Also, this is called a resource page, which I'm showing you now. Over here on the left is where you can share this resource to your Google Classroom, which you will have linked and set up already in PBS Learning Media when you have your own account. You can share this link with your students. Student sign-in is not required. You can copy the link for the full resource or distract-free media view. You can build a lesson, and I can show you a little bit about that later. You can share this with your friends and colleagues in all of these ways. And then remember I mentioned favorites. Once again, you see a little heart, you can favorite this and it goes to your list of favorites. Notice up here, there's teacher view and student view. If you want to know what PBS Learning Media looks like to your students, you can click on student view and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff that was here on the left-hand side goes away because students don't need to see what the teachers see. If you need a transcript, let's say for somebody that has hearing problems, you can click on the transcript and read everything that Miles says in the transcript. You can even print that out. You can download this video. There's different permissions. And then focus view gets rid of any distractions. And there it is. All you can see is the video and the credits if you want to see those. Back to the teacher view of this resource, everything that you need as a teacher. Here's your support materials. How do you decide above the noise? This is how to use this resource. Some support materials to use with your students is here. Sentence frames. They'll all be different depending on what the resource is about. Glossary of terms. Different resources have different support materials. So there's Miles. I recommend that you check out Above the Noise. He's very cool. He's one of my favorite people in PBS Learning Media. Okay, I'm still on the front page again. Here is a way to browse by subject. Let's say you were gonna, this is my favorite way to kind of browse. It's still, you have to narrow down the number of things you're gonna look at, because let's say I click on English Language Arts. There's a bunch of options. Let's say we're gonna do speaking and listening. This is too much to look at. 524 videos. Notice this one is also in Spanish. Psy Girls, Habitat Havoc. This little icon here means it contains resources, support materials, which might be a lesson plan. This one contains 3 of those. These 2 are blank, so they don't have support materials, but this is part of a lesson plan clip. Now, you don't want to look at 524 videos. So let's narrow it down by middle school. Now it's only 331. And maybe you're not looking for videos at all. Maybe you're looking for lesson plans. Still a lot, 59. Maybe you want to see what's the most popular. How do we know what's popular? Because people have clicked on that little heart and put it in their favorites. For some reason, the most popular lesson plan is Tea Time as a Ritual from POV, point of view documentaries. Who knows why? Frederick Douglass is also a very popular lesson plan. Malcolm X. And we're going to see more about PBS Newshour Student Reporting Lab soon, because this is one of the ways of putting current events into your classroom. So we have 59 lesson plans. You can also sort by what's the newest. And even though it's one of the most popular, this explains why it's one of the most popular, because it's one of the newest. Tea Time as a Ritual, and still Student Reporting Lab, also one of the newer ones. There's under speaking and listening, there's more. Comprehension and collaboration. Conversations, diverse formats of media. How about point of view? Now there's only 3, yay. So we've drilled down, and you don't have to look at all of those different things to find what you're looking for. Maybe you're going to look at Ford's Theater, and there you go. Here's your support material. There's 7 support materials. Here's your grade level, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. And you can also search by grade level. Remember here. And so that's how you search PBS Learning Media to find what you're looking for. Again, I'm back at the beginning because I clicked on PBS Learning Media logo. This is how we were searching through these topics and subject areas. I don't recommend just doing grade level, because then you're going to get thousands of things. This is news and events. What's happening right now? The POV Watch Club is a watch club of documentaries that you can join. I think it's maybe once a month, but it might be even more often than that. I do have the POV Watch Club, by the way, in your folder. I have created a folder specifically for current events in the classroom. This is something going on in New Mexico. Every first and third Tuesday of the month, Echo for Education, and I work with them real closely. We'll do a social and emotional learning teacher training session from 3:30 to 4:30, and we will help you learn how to include social and emotional learning into the rest of your curriculum. Something that people are doing a lot of right now, since it's been a kind of traumatic time for both teachers and students. All right, I'm paging down. I'm still on the very front page of PBS Learning Media, but now here's a section that I actually have some control over. So Folk Music of Hispanic New Mexico is a collection of songs by John Donald Robb, collected throughout New Mexico between 1942 and 45 and 72, I think. And so it's mostly audio, but a lot of videos and much in Spanish. Moments in Time for you people that have to teach New Mexico history. This is awesome. This is something that KNME collaborated with the New Mexico History Museum to create. If you have students interested maybe in becoming scientists, these are 45 local New Mexican scientists answering the question in only 60 seconds, why did I become a scientist? What it takes is 8 videos of New Mexico healthcare professionals, a little bit about their profession, what they do, how much they earn, how they got there, what they had to learn, what they had to do in school in order to get licensed to do whatever they do. So this is a terrific set of very recent, we just finished this, videos on healthcare careers. Speaking of healthcare, The Providers is a documentary made here in New Mexico about El Centro Family Health in Rio Arriba County. And these are healthcare providers that provide healthcare to their local citizens in rural areas, regardless of whether they can pay. This is Ken Burns' collection of the West. I think this is a broken link though, so I'm going to try and fix that. Here's Majesty of Music and Math again. This is our documentary with elementary and high school resources and fun things that you can do with music and math. It is New Mexico history, not New Mexico, Indigenous Native American Heritage Month. And so I put a bunch of Native American resources here. So Where Words Touch the Earth is about Native wisdom. Before there were parks, the Native American perspective on national parks that used to be their land. This is a very cool story. Playing for the World, 1904, this women's basketball team who was part of a girls basketball, a girls boarding school, was going all over the country with their basketball team and beating everybody. So it's a great story. For those of you who are both English language teachers, but mostly social studies, Ken Burns in the Classroom, you'll see 488 different resources are in there. This is an awesome collection. And any resource that you want to find in Ken Burns's collection can be located by era or by film. And of course, this is American history. So all of these periods, and Civil War being maybe his most famous, but his first big deal documentary. There's tons of stuff about that in here. The Industrial Age, Modern America, Depression and World War II, Post-war United States, and Contemporary, 1980 to the present. You can also search by film. Maybe you want to get into baseball or the Brooklyn Bridge, maybe the Dust Bowl. Ernest Hemingway, I can highly recommend. That was a pretty awesome set of resources that go with that. Here was Mark Twain again. How about the Roosevelts, Prohibition, and then the West. This is from 1996. If you are going to show any resources from the West, there's a lot about New Mexico, but it also is very truthful. And New Mexico's history with Native American people is brutal and traumatic. And so if you're going to show any of these resources to your students, especially if they're Native American, do vet them carefully and prepare the students in advance, because this is, it's very honest stuff and it's very hard to watch. It was hard for me, and I'm not Native American. It was pretty awful, but it's real. And it's our history. So if you're teaching New Mexico history, do have a look at The West by Ken Burns. This, I think it was like 12-hour documentary film series. So there's a lot there. From here, you can favorite, remember that? And you can share it in your Google Classroom or with your friends and colleagues. All right.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing and ask for questions. So let's hear it.
Okay, so you said that was a part of the site that you have some control over. So is that your personal page, or if we go to the learning media, will we see all of those same things?
Yeah, I can, as an administrator for PBS Learning Media in New Mexico, I can change just the feature section, the collections, And so when we have something new, I'm working on, for instance, something right now about landscape in New Mexico with the environmental correspondent, Laura Pascas. Our land will turn up there because I'll put it in there. So that section of collections on the front page, once you sign up for your own free account, you will see that. If you don't, you'll see something else. Molly, you have a question?
Oh, that was me that was asking.
Oh,
So
okay,
thank you.
good enough.
My seventh grade, not mine, but the 7th grade New Mexico history teachers are always looking for more resources. So I'm excited to share that with them.
Oh, yeah. And moments in time, I'll show you real quickly. Anybody else before I go back and share my screen that has a question? Okay, real quickly, I'm going to show you that one resource, moments in time. You guys who are teaching New Mexico history, this is awesome. This is videos that we collaborated with the New Mexico History Museum to make on funding from the Museum and Library Sciences Bureau. These are all New Mexico history. Fashioning New Mexico, Victorian Secrets is pretty popular. It's about underwear. This is the USS New Mexico. There is a sailor's diary that this was based on from World War II, who was serving on the USS New Mexico. And of course, we have to have Billy the Kid because it's New Mexico history. This is a Native American collection of hide paintings in the New Mexico History Museum. How about something about the Rough Riders, the Palace of the Governors, early photography through the lens in Santa Fe, very fascinating stuff. A lot of people don't know about the Santa Fe Japanese internment camp. And actually our producers found some people who were interned there and some who are descendants of those who were interned in New Mexico in the Japanese internment camp. The early printing press in Estancia, more about El Camino Real, the Buffalo Soldiers in New Mexico, religious art in the churches of New Mexico, and finally, my personal favorite about an early governor's wife in New Mexico who was taken to Mexico by the Spanish Inquisition and how she got out of that predicament. This collection I highly recommend for you guys that are teaching New Mexico history. Okay, any more questions before I dive right into current events? All right, stop me anytime or raise your hand because I think I can see your hand raised. I am going to go and show you the folder that I produced for today's event. And I'll put a link to that folder right here. Remember I mentioned that you could do, you could save favorites and organize them in folders. I have a big list of favorites. This is my folder list. And where we are now is APS Humanities Institute, Current Affairs and Journalism. This is my folder. And it creates a URL so that I can share this folder with you guys. So I am going to copy this right now and I'm going to stick it in the chat. But this also available on the APS page with all the resources from today. There is the link to my folder. Now, when you click on that link, this is what you're going to see. Current Affairs and Journalism. So this is the folder that I created for you guys. When you create a folder, you can add notes to it. So I put notes on almost every resource that's in this folder so that you don't have to look at it to see what's in there. But if you're making your own folder, you can just remind yourself what it's for, what class, what you want to do with it. You can put any notes in here at all. This is the PBS NewsHour Classroom collection. If I go down to the bottom of my page in this folder, you're going to recognize a lot of these. This is how many pages of resources are available in this folder, 5 pages. I could show them all, by going here. So I've organized these in a way I think that might be the most helpful to you, at least I hope so. So this is current events. That is the best of PBS NewsHour. One of the things that makes New Mexico PBS different from things like Discovery is that we do have the NewsHour, and when something happens and your students come in the classroom and go, whoa, what just happened? It's likely that within a few days, you'll be able to find lessons and information about it in PBS Learning Media. PBS NewsHour in the classroom. I'm just going to click on this. Actually, I don't want to lose my space. I'm going to show you what's in here. My folder. Here we go. PBS NewsHour in the classroom. Here we are. So, current events lessons, lesson plans. If specifically you want to dig into social studies and civics, or English language arts, science, or media literacy, very important stuff. How do you tell what is fake news, for instance? This is important for your students to begin to understand. Fake news is actually infecting us in a great way. PBS NewsHour Classroom helps teachers and students identify the who, what, when, where, and why it matters news stories. This is a partnership with Learning Media, and it'll bring current events lessons into your classroom. So let's have a look at what do they mean by current events lessons. How about this girl that just won the spelling bee? That was so awesome. I can't believe her name is Avant-Garde too. That's interesting. She's from New Orleans, Louisiana. So you can see information about her. You can see the grade level, grade 6 to 8 and 9 to 12. And there are 2 support materials to go with this. The Tulsa massacre was in the news recently because we came upon a very sad anniversary. So here's some information who is from somebody, Tiffany Crutcher, who is a native of Tulsa and a civil rights activist. And so you can use this video as part of a lesson. It has 2 support materials to go with it. Studying Israel-Palestine conflict. Someone trying to, before COVID, tuberculosis was ended by, guess what? A vaccine. So these are some of the resources under current events lessons. You want actual lesson plans? Here they are. How to keep first responders safe. How mimicking nature inspires new inventions. These are all really recent. The plastics problem. If it says media gallery, it's a collection of media that tell the same story, that support the same ideas. So plastic lasts more than a certain amount of time. What will it take? You can, by the way, many of the resources are downloadable. So let's say you don't necessarily have a really good broadband in your classroom. You could download this to your laptop or your computer and show it later. Also, if there are standards, everything is standards aligned actually in PBS Learning Media. And so here's the information about this lesson. You can see the original lesson from PBS NewsHour by clicking here, but you can also click on standards here or next standards and see what the standards are. This is one reason why you need your own free account, because New Mexico Public Education Department standards are included if PBS Learning Media knows you're from New Mexico. So here are the STEM Ready standards for this particular one. So nationwide standards, of which there are 7. There are also NGSS standards, all 4. Benchmarks for science literacy, ISTE standards. Not every resource has this many standards, but this particular one has a bunch. And in case you want to know who produced this, there it is. This is called a resource page once again. And if you really like this, you could favorite it by clicking on this little heart, and it will go into your list of favorites. You can share it with your colleagues in any of these ways. You can share the link with your students. Sign in not required. You can copy the link and email it to them. You can build a lesson around it, and you can share it with your Google Classroom. You want to see what it looks like to the students? You click on Student View, and all the teacher-specific stuff goes away because they don't need to know all those things. And then they can read and look at this. Now, the permitted use of this one is stream only. So you can only stream this. The permissions change from resource to resource. You can either stream only, stream and download, stream, download, and share. And with a very few of them, you can even edit them. Stream, download, share, edit. This particular one, you can only stream. PBS Newshour rights are a little trickier. If you're a student, you could favorite this, but you have to be over 13 years old to sign up for your own free student account. I am back at the teacher view. And I am back at my folder. Okay. Let's have that folder. All right. Current affairs in the classroom. Hopefully you guys all noticed I put the link to this folder into the chat. Now I want to tell you a little bit about PBS Newshour Student Reporting Labs. This is a great collection. If you want your students to become little journalists, this would be awesome. This has tools and curriculum for project-based learning that builds critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, and communication skills. They're easy to use whether or not you decide you want to have a student reporting lab. I've been trying for 10 years to get a student reporting lab started in New Mexico. I'm almost there with a school, an organization in Taos. But you don't have to have your own student reporting lab in order to use these. But if you want to apply to start a student reporting lab at your school, you will be connected with our station, but also a mentor from PBS Newshour to help you with your student reporting lab, and you'll be given free training for that. Actually, let me go back and click on this so it's in another tab. Here's PBS Newshour Student Reporting Labs. This is a very cool project-based way of teaching your students how to find out things from their peers, how to learn to do interviews, what is newsworthy, what other young people are thinking. In this collection is how COVID changed education. I guess you guys already know a lot of that. Lesson plans and activities, video tutorials, which is really helpful stuff. If you want to know, here's the tutorial series, how to get that B-roll. So what's in the background of your interview? A tutorial on been there, lit that. So how to do lighting, in other words. More about lighting. The audio series. So how to do maybe radio stories, or if you're doing a video story, how to make your sound better. More on sound. Tutorials on using the equipment. How to properly focus. Media literacy tips. This is just one of several, just a few of several of these, excuse me, resources in student reporting labs. They recently did a town hall by and for young people. And here's information about that. There's Hari Srinivasan there. About voting. And here's another about young people's voices. How about a message to the next president right after the election? How can young citizens work towards building a stronger democracy? How to unify the country? Maybe your students are thinking about this now, that there's a lot of attention on how divisive politics is. How do you think America will be different going forward? And here's an interview with people that have masks on in a school library created by students. Okay, lots of good stuff in PBS Newshour Student Reporting Lab. So if you want your students to become journalists, to interview their peers, their parents, their elders, everything you need to know is in this curriculum. How about Frontline? Frontline delivers thought-provoking journalism about tough, controversial, and complex stories. Here is a list of the topics in my notes here on the Frontline collection. So COVID-19 is on everybody's mind still. I understand New Mexico is having another surge. Oh my God. Criminal justice, business, economy, environment, family and children, foreign affairs, health, science, technology, race, multicultural and social issues. I see Jordan, your hand is raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself to ask a question.
Yes, I just want to know what is the process to apply for a student reporting lab?
Excuse me, there is a form that you can fill out. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now, and I can send you that form.
Okay, thank you.
And everything that you need, including a very cool platform they call Story Maker, which they just put together to help students actually do broadcast worthy stories. But we will hook you up with some of our own production crew to help you with your work. And even maybe you can do a tour of the studio once COVID is a little let up. So anyway, I would highly recommend everybody who is very interested in doing a student reporting lab. I would love to help you with that. I have never been able to get one started. It's not easy, but it's much easier if it's not an out of school time program, it's an in classroom time, because then it's easier for your student reporters to meet deadlines. That's one of the problems we've always had, meeting deadlines.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for asking that question. Okay, inside the same folder here, remember there's 5 pages of stuff, so I'm not going to go through everything, but news and media literacy is such an important skill even for adults. And so here's about that essential skill from any subject, from science to social studies to English. It has videos, blog articles, student handouts, lesson plans, tip sheets for families to help their students analyze, investigate news and information they get from online sources. Many students, if they get any news at all, get it from online. Not Facebook, probably TikTok or something. So how do they analyze and look at whether this is the real item, whether it's facts they're looking at, who the target audience is, what the underlying agenda is? Here's a political cartooning challenge, a youth media challenge. If your students are interested in political cartooning, they can go here and you can look at KQED is in San Francisco, their own political content. Cartoonists can walk students through the creation process. There are videos and pieces that students actually create might get shared on KQED's digital channels in San Francisco. Page 2, just to show you briefly what else is in here. Women, War, and Peace I put in here because there is conventional wisdom that War and Peace is a men's domain, but many of the people who fight and are definitely impacted are women. Gangs, warlords using small arms and improvised weapons impact on women greatly all around the world. Films by kids Master filmmakers are paired with teenagers from around the world to create short personal documentaries, and you can see some of those. They are talking about the effects of exile, illiteracy, disease, war, bigotry. This is every time we think we have problems here in New Mexico, it helps to look at what's going on at other places in the world. Off Book is about art, people, and culture in the digital revolution. Topics range from internet culture, graphic design, the worlds of video games, and coding. I know you have some students who are totally caught up in those worlds. News Quiz is produced by Kentucky Educational Television, but it's really fun. It happens every couple of weeks, and you can answer questions about what's happening in the news. So this is a really fun place for students to be interactive. And then about current events, opinion letters, and stuff like that. And then there's an extra credit report that comes at the end. Lowdown is a way of connecting current events and mathematics. So it's multimedia projects about things like economic equity. How do you know through statistics that civic engagement is happening in certain neighborhoods and not other neighborhoods? Let's say through voter access to the polls. Okay, page 3. This is still the same folder. And I remember I put the link to this folder into the chat. Beyond the front page is a multimedia journalism collection designed for teachers and students 6 through 12. It was put together by both PBS Newshour and the New York Times. It's 9 videos and a companion website, and it highlights key understandings in utilizing journalism. This is a game, Decisions on Deadline, produced by Independent Lens. And it was around, I think, a documentary where one of the New York Times reporters was found to be plagiarizing. And this interactive game is a lesson plan, and you would click on view the lesson plan here in order to see what it's about. And then here's your lesson plan. At this point, you could print it out. It seems to be 11 pages, so it'd be a lot of printing. And here's how the game works, how to go through a career progression into journalism. It's a really interesting, very interactive kind of game. Yes, A Fragile Trust was the documentary about this journalist who was accused and found guilty of plagiarism in the New York Times, of all places. And so this game was created as a connection to that video. Okay, we're on page 3 still. The retro report is lessons about critical thinking and decisions on a variety of history, civics, science, and other connections from the past to the present, which is why it's called retro report. There's a lesson plan and clips about what tomorrow brings, an Afghan girls' school. Remember, Afghanistan is the place where girls were not allowed to go to school. So the fact that there is even a girls' school is pretty amazing. Time for School is also a collection about places where children don't always get to go to school, but what is their school and their education access experience like in Benin, in Brazil, in India, or in Kenya? So what are the experiences of children in schools in other countries? This might be interesting if you are teaching world history. Okay, NOVA, even though NOVA is a science program, current science news from respected journalists and scientists is in here. And there are some exciting lessons to spike your students' interest in science. This collection is from Minnesota. Trial and Tribulation is made directly from George Floyd's video and experience, the murder of George Floyd. and Derek Chauvin and how that unfolds. In March 2021, we look back at the past year. So this is really recent, the last 100 years of Minnesota's deep racist history, and what will it take to heal? If your students are asking you about George Floyd and about the experiences that many people are going through after the Black Lives Matter movement starts, here's a place where you can go. Racism and justice in Minnesota is not so different than other states, but it's directly from those people impacted in the neighborhood where George Floyd was murdered. And there's a lot of resources in here. This is not just a little short one-day thing. You can do a whole unit on, and it's not all bad news. Why are cookouts so important for Black joy is one of the final parts of this resource. Okay, we just exited Afghanistan. This particular collection is about Iowa soldiers, although I imagine even New Mexico soldiers and other ones have similar experiences about what it was like. This is firsthand primary source accounts of what it was like to participate in Afghanistan as a soldier. Finally, refugee women's stories and a youth radio collection. And as I mentioned, POV Watch Club is also in here. I'm going to stop sharing and ask you guys if you have any other questions. Do remember that my email is in the chat. If you would like me to come to your school virtually and do this for any of your departments, for a group of teachers, for a small PLC, whatever you have, I'm happy to do it. Any final comments or last questions? Thank you so much, y'all. We're just about out of time. We only have a couple more minutes, so this is your chance to ask a question. Thank you so much for being with me today. Feel free to email me anytime if you forget something, you were looking for something in particular, but also be sure to go on the APS site to get the link for this folder, which I created just for you, Current Events in the Classroom. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much. That's such a wonderful resource.
Oh, good. Glad you liked it.